In 1995, a man robbed 2 banks in Pittsburgh in broad daylight without a disguise. He smiled directly into the security cameras. When police arrested him hours later, he was genuinely stunned. "But I wore the juice," he said. The juice. He had rubbed lemon juice on his face, because lemon juice is used as invisible ink, and so, by his logic, it would make his face invisible to cameras. Here's what matters about that story. It's not that he was wrong, it's that he was confidently wrong. His plan had a flaw so enormous that spotting it required the very intelligence he didn't have. He was too incompetent to detect his own incompetence. That case landed on the desk of a psychologist named David Dunning, and it led to one of the most famous findings in modern psychology. The people who know the least are often the most certain, because the skill you need to recognize your own weakness is the skill you're missing. But some people aren't just blind to their own limits. They live inside a world specifically engineered to keep them blind. And to understand that, I want you to meet 2 people. Meet the first one. We'll call him the king. The king is not a smart man. He's not stupid in a dramatic way. He's just ordinary. Mediocre ideas, shallow reasoning, the kind of mind that, in any normal life, would get corrected 100 times a day. But the king is extraordinarily rich. And money does something strange to the information around a person. Every bad idea he pitches, the room applauds. Every joke lands. Every opinion is such a fresh perspective. His employees need their salary. His friends need his lifestyle. His advisors need his approval. Nobody in his orbit has anything to gain from telling him the truth. Now meet the second subject. We'll call her the queen. The queen is beautiful, the kind of beautiful that rearranges rooms. And beauty, like money, is a currency other people want access to. So the men around her agree with everything she says. Her friends orbit her for proximity and status. Her worst takes are met with a patronizing "so true." Her flaws are invisible, because pointing them out costs access to her. Now pull up the graph. You've seen it before. The popular version of the Dunning-Kruger curve, the one everyone shares online. Competence on the horizontal axis, confidence on the vertical. And right at the beginning, with almost no competence at all, confidence spikes to its highest point. This peak is called Mount Stupid. And the king and the queen have built well-guarded castles there. Here's what makes their situation so much worse than the lemon juice bandits. Dunning identified an internal lock. You can't see your own incompetence, because seeing it requires competence. That lock alone traps millions of people already. But the king and the queen have a second lock, an external one. Ordinary people get feedback and life corrects them. A bad idea fails publicly. A rude comment loses a friend. Reality for most of us is a constant stream of small, humbling collisions that shape us into self-aware beings, one collision at a time. But the king and the queen have been sealed off from collisions. Wealth and beauty act as reality proofing. Every honest signal is intercepted and replaced with flattery before it ever reaches them. They're not just unable to see their flaws from the inside, the outside world is actively lying to them about those flaws every single day, because lying is profitable. Think about what that means. The one exit from Mount Stupid is feedback, and everyone around them, for their own gain, is guarding that exit. They don't stand a chance. But nothing engineered lasts forever. The king makes one confident bet too many, because why wouldn't he? He's never been wrong before, as far as he knows. The market turns. The money evaporates, and with it, overnight, the audience. The queen's fall is slower and crueler with time. The attention thins, the rooms stop rearranging, and her phone gets quieter, year by year, until one day she notices that nobody is performing anymore. And this is the moment I really want to talk about, because this is where the king and queen lose everything that previously defined them. For the first time in decades, they receive raw, unfiltered, unsponsored reality. The king pitches an idea and someone says, flatly, "That won't work." Without a cushion or pretense, the queen gets her first real no, just an indifferent response, from someone who genuinely couldn't care less. And it hits them like a truck, not because reality got harsher. Reality was always this harsh. It hits them because they're feeling its full weight for the first time, with none of the calluses the rest of us built up gradually since childhood. Imagine experiencing 30 years of deferred honesty in a single season. Every flaw they were never told about arrives at once, in one unpayable invoice. Look at the graph again. This is the cliff, the plunge off Mount Stupid into what the curve calls the Valley of Despair, confidence in free fall. And notice something brutal about the geometry. The higher your peak, the harder the ground hits when you fall. The king and the queen didn't stand at the normal summit. They stood on towers built on top of it, towers of flattery. So their valley is deeper than anyone's. The valley is where their reality breaks and rebuilds. At first, they respond the way almost everyone does: denial. The king insists the market was rigged, his partners betrayed him. The queen decides people are just shallow, jealous, worse than they used to be. This is the mind's last defense, because admitting the truth means admitting that decades of their life were a performance staged at them, not a life lived by them. Then comes the grief, and it's strange because what they're mourning never existed: the brilliant businessman, the endlessly fascinating woman. They're grieving characters that everyone around them was incentivized to keep alive. If they do not die from the fall, something happens in the valley that could never happen on the mountain. They start learning. Because here's the quiet mercy hidden in the curve. The valley isn't the end of the graph. Look at what comes after the plunge: a long, slow, grinding upward slope. The popular version calls it the slope of enlightenment. And the king and the queen, for the first time in their lives, are qualified to climb it, because the two things protecting them from knowledge are finally gone. The external lock shattered when the liars left. And the internal lock breaks the moment you feel your own incompetence, because feeling your incompetence is the first act of the competence you were missing. The king fails at small things now and notices. Noticing is new. Each failure teaches him something no advisor ever dared to. The queen has real conversations now, the kind where people disagree with her, and slowly discovers which of her thoughts can actually survive contact with another mind. Their confidence rises again. But look at the shape of the curve. It never spikes like it did on Mount Stupid. It climbs gently, earned inch by inch, and this time it's welded to actual competence. The graph's final stretch has a fittingly unglamorous name: the plateau of sustainability. Lower than the peak they once stood on, but real, load-bearing, theirs. So what's the lesson? Don't be rich, don't be beautiful. No. The lesson is this: the most dangerous thing that can happen to a human mind is to be surrounded by people who profit from its blindness. Wealth and beauty are just the loudest examples. Power does it. Fame does it. Even being the smartest person in a small room does it. The Dunning-Kruger Effect says you can't see your own limits without help, which means the most valuable person in your life is not the one who applauds you. It's the one who has nothing to gain from lying to you and tells you the truth anyway. Find that person. Keep them close, because everyone stands on Mount Stupid at some point. The only question is whether someone loves you enough to push you off, before life, the cruelest teacher, has to do it for them.